All right. Hi, welcome to the Better Mind Center's YouTube channel. For those of you who are new here, the Better Mind Center is a group of mind-body oriented therapists and coaches helping clients recover from chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. We are so excited to be with you for our Troubleshooting Your Techniques series. In this series, we'll dive deeper into traditional mind-body recovery tools. We will share new perspectives and techniques for you to try during your recovery journey. My name is Bernice.
And I'm Alyssa.
And today we will be talking about garnering self-compassion. I'm so excited to talk about this topic with you.
I love compassion talk. Can't get enough of it. So this is going to be
Yeah. So let me know a little bit of what do you feel self-compassion is?
Yeah. So to me, self-compassion is still being able to be gentle with ourselves in moments where normally we would be critical or doubtful or shameful of ourselves and our actions and our thoughts and our behaviors. When I think self-compassion, I think of it kind of as like multi-tiered. Like self-compassion is the ultimate goal for ourselves, but we can absolutely start with I would say neutrality, work our way up to respect, then like, and then compassion or love for ourselves. I do think having self-respect for ourselves is a non-negotiable, and self-compassion is a great way to start reaching that threshold, so to speak. So basically, just I think it's being able to be gentle with ourselves, respectful of ourselves in moments where normally we would be really harsh on ourselves.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that too. And I think overall, self-compassion, yes, it's something that we build upon. But one of the things for sure is that we all have an internal dialogue.
Mhm.
100%. What it sounds like is going to be different for everyone. But I think if we can remind ourselves a bit of when we've lost like our temper with ourselves, when we felt frustrated with ourselves, when we have felt afraid or scared, or maybe even feeling joyful and feeling nervous about experiencing that emotion too. But like the thoughts that come on about the way that we're feeling in the moment, really has a way of either sinking as what feels like we're sinking back into this hole and we can't crawl out of it because we're just being so critical of ourselves. But how can we kind of pause on that and start recognizing that that's happening in the first place and really building on one, talking kindly to ourselves, but also really accepting ourselves for what we're experiencing in the moment, why we're experiencing that in the moment too. And that can look differently every single time that we're experiencing something when we're talking so negatively to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I think identifying when we're not being compassionate to ourselves is really the first step and half the battle. I don't know about you, but with clients and what you've experienced with clients, but what I've experienced is oftentimes our internal dialogue is so implicit. It's so automatic that a lot of the times we don't even realize when we're being so harsh on ourselves. And so I think really the first step is being able to pull yourself out of a thought funk or a thought cycle spiral and say, like, whoa, wait a second. That was actually a really mean thought that I just had about myself. Was that fair? And so really being able to just identify and acknowledge where it is that you're being so critical of yourself is half the battle in and of itself.
Yeah, you're 100% yes. It's like definitely like part of the battle is just naming it and really just kind of saying, oh, there goes that. Because the way that we talk to ourselves is so second nature, right? Something happens and it's this quick response or reaction really to like, oh, I really messed that up. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, fill in the blank with any thought that feels really harsh for the way that we're talking to ourselves, that's where those loops kind of come into play. But if we're able, one, if we can say them out loud to ourselves too, and then being able to just identify that this is what's happening, we're already kind of in like, we're in a good place to start changing that path for ourselves too.
Right. You're already breaking that one neural pathway that's so focused on self-criticism and shame and everything in between. And you're creating a new neural pathway that's more focused on compassion and respect and safety for yourself and for how you intervene and interact with the world.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think with people, not with people, for a lot of our clients who experience chronic pain too, it's so like it's our, like, again, second nature to fall back into feeling frustrated with the way that we feel with our bodies, which then in turn feels really safe to some extent to just kind of go back into that negative loop of the way that we feel about our bodies and then what we're thinking about our bodies too. So it feels like this ongoing loop of my pain is up again. I feel frustrated with the way that I feel with my pain, and then it goes into the thoughts: I'm never going to get out of pain. This is just the way that it is going to be for me, and shaming ourselves potentially because it feels like we're failing at ways to take care of ourselves too. So just being able to recognize, like, wait, let's pump the brakes a bit on all of that. And these tools definitely are really functional for a lot of people, but the biggest thing is let's tailor it specifically to you. And so I'm so excited to share some techniques that people can take and really kind of tailor to what feels best for them as well.
Yeah, that was actually a question that I just wanted to ask you. So, when clients are in that zone of being really critical or harsh on themselves, or even shaming themselves for shaming themselves, how do you help clients? And what are some ways that you help your clients work through those tough moments to be more adaptive and more compassionate?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think one, let's just identify first off, what does self-compassion even feel like from the get-go? Like when someone says, do you practice self-compassion? What is your initial reaction to that? Does it feel like, oh, I don't practice that. Oh, that just doesn't work for me. Kind of noticing a bit of those like mannerisms that we kind of engage in from the get-go to just see like, whoa, probably not something that I feel really comfortable with, or I feel really uncomfortable with practicing the self compassion. I think that's going to be a really good start. And then from there, understanding, or not understanding, but just gathering a little bit of information of, okay, what hasn't worked for me when it comes to self compassion? Is it just the talking positively to myself? Right. And I think that's another like bit of a tangent with that is that it's not about talking positively with yourself, but more of acknowledging what's happening in the moment. But with that, there's where I see this with a lot of my clients where sometimes we'll be talking about like it's okay to feel fearful. And they're like, no, it's not okay to feel fearful. Like I've been told it's not okay to be so afraid that I shouldn't be feeling this level of discomfort or whatever it may be. And so now we're saying like it's okay. So there's like this aversion to that experience for them. So I just want to name that I've seen this be deferred to as a backdraft from researchers. Where the backdraft is just we're practicing something that we're not accustomed to, something that has really been probably instilled in us that it's not okay for us to experience, and now we're saying that it is. So there's like this aversion to that gentleness or that kindness that we're not accustomed to as well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
You bring up such a good point too. I don't know if you experience this with clients, but a lot of the times with my clients, when they do start to practice self-compassion, they might even see, an increase in symptoms. And they're like, what the heck is going on? I've been being nice to myself. I've been being neutral to myself, and yet my symptoms are spiking. What's up? And I always say, I want to really remind you that the brain gravitates towards what's familiar, and what's not familiar is scary to the brain. So if speaking to yourself unkindly has been your norm for your entire life, and now you're all of a sudden really working on identifying that behavior and those thoughts and then changing them into something more positive, yeah, your brain might freak out a little bit. I say when symptoms increase, when this happens, it's almost like your brain is tapping you on the shoulder and saying, like, hey, we noticed you're changing your response to this situation a little bit differently. Is that all right? Like, that's not usually what we do. This isn't usually how we get things done. And so in those moments, can we respond to our brain and say, like, I hear you, practicing this behavior change is scary, but I know that in the long run, this is going to be so much better for you and for me, talking about the brain and the body and us and everything connected. And so I think that starting there is really helpful. I don't know if you've experienced the same thing with clients, but I think that that's a really important topic to recognize.
Yeah, no, I love that you're naming that too. It's that what does feel familiar, right? What feels familiar is what feels quote unquote safe, right? So it's so easy to default into whatever pattern it is that we have been practicing, or maybe has now become a bit of a habit for us too, in the way that we talk to ourselves and all of that. So breaking free from any of that, it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable. And one of the things that I like to kind of share with some of my clients when it comes to like this is like we all, if we were to think about our route to the grocery store, we probably have that route down. We know where specific landmarks are. We know where the street signs are. We could probably drive, well, maybe not, but we could probably drive with our eyes closed to the grocery store. That feels familiar. But if you were to take a different route to the grocery store, maybe you would need your GPS. Maybe you'd feel a little bit confused. And there's probably going to be moments of like, oh, I should have just gone the way that I know. That is exactly what happens in this too. Is like we're changing the route in which what was very familiar for us, and we're trying to create this new pathway to get to a place where we want to get to, which is the grocery store, or actually self-compassion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some techniques that have worked for some of your clients to incorporate self-compassion?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I could speak on this topic forever, but I think one of the biggest ones that a lot of clients resonate with, and I resonate with personally, is this idea of if it's too challenging for us to be compassionate to ourselves in this moment with who we are today at this age, this time, this day, can we practice being more compassionate to a past version of us that deserves that compassion? So, a lot of the times, what I'll do is I'll ask a client, like, hey, do you have a picture of you from when you were a little kid around you anywhere? Okay, you don't. That's okay. Like, can you just imagine in your mind little you and these thoughts that you're saying to yourself in this present moment, like, oh, why did I do that? I'm so stupid. Why I got that wrong, etc. Can you practice saying that to little you? And usually they're like, no, I would never say that to little me. And I'm like, exactly, exactly. But that little you is still who you are today. So instead, can you look at that picture of you, that little kid picture of you, or that young adult picture of you, whatever version it might be that needs some compassion, and that's still used, that same rhetoric that you're using with yourself today? Can you look at that version of yourself and say what they needed to hear in that moment? And my gosh, the healing and profound impact that that exercise has on clients and people is it's priceless. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'll say, like, what is something you needed to hear in that moment? Because I think personally, those parts of us are still in us. So if you can heal that part of you, if it's too difficult to heal this current part of you, let's start in the past. And usually that feels a bit more tangible and actionable for people.
I love that so much. Being able to really encompass like this significant part of ourselves, right? Our younger selves. Really, like we were able to like probably bring up very specific memories of a younger image of ourselves from any particular moments in our time. So even going back to being able to kind of go back to a time when like that younger self maybe needed a little to hear something differently too. Like, would you want to continue to put that child down? Probably not. But that child's already experiencing all sorts of emotions, and what the child really needs is for someone to say, like, "Whoa, what you're experiencing right now is really heavy or really hard,
Mhm.
and I'm here. I'm going to give you a bit of a listening ear that you're okay, and we will be okay."
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's too challenging for you to even tell your little you self that, then envision, a loved one telling little you that, or try to really kind of embody the voice of someone that you respect or admire, even if it's a celebrity, and have them tell that to little you. Whatever we can do to inch closer to safety with ourselves, even if it's utilizing other people, if it brings us closer to safety and acceptance within ourselves, that's all that matters, in my opinion.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I love that being able to internally source that safety. When I'm going to just shift a bit here, where I think for some clients that find that a bit difficult to really source that internally, well, like here are just a couple things that they can try to outsource some of that safety to, and self-compassion and taking care of themselves and bringing in a bit of like comfort can be doing, and any, we can rely on any behavior. So taking a sip of water, like moving your body, maybe going for a light walk. If you're sitting, stand up just for a bit. Sometimes placing a hand over your chest too and feeling the thumping of your heart. Just kind of giving yourself this gentle reminder of like, I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
I know this moment just feels probably really hard. And maybe if we can nix that statement, if that statement just doesn't feel like feels really safe, then at least just connect with yourself. I feel my heartbeat. What do I need in this moment? And just asking yourself, what is it that you need in this moment? And then we can practice a bit of whatever it is that comes to mind. Do you need to remove yourself? Okay, how can we remove yourself? Physically, or maybe remove yourself mentally? Can we create a bit of a safe space in our minds, whatever that may be? Sometimes for some clients, it's kind of imagining a specific room that they had in like their home that was like filled with all their stuffed animals or whatever that felt really safe for them. Or maybe it's, being in someone's arms, like their grandmother's arms. So like being able to just kind of instill some of those things too, of like calmness and like soothing themselves in the moment.
And it really is trial and error. Like there are so many ways to be compassionate to yourself that it really is kind of trial and error sometimes. So if you try on, like I think you gave the great analogy of like if you try on one sweater for self-compassion and it doesn't fit, that's okay. Can we return that sweater and try on a different one? And just kind of accepting that it's a practice. Like this is I would think a lifelong practice, and it's okay to try on different hats and sweaters and shoes and socks and see what feels right for you.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much for saying that, because that's exactly, yes, what, yes, to all of it, because as our like seasons change, right? So we also change. And so whatever has been potentially helpful at one point in our lives may need a bit of a shift at, in 3 months or 2 weeks or whatever it may be. Everything is going to be about asking yourself, like, what is it that I need in this moment? Or just acknowledging what is it that's happening for me right now, too.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
yay.
I wish we could talk about this forever.
Yes, I feel like this topic, and there's so many different ways that you can incorporate self-compassion too, and being mindful about practicing the self-compassion in general. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. I'm so excited that we could share a few little tips or tricks for self-compassion for people to try out in their individual journey too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thanks again for joining us. And if you are looking for one-on-one support or would like to stay connected, please reach us at bettermindcenter.com, at better.with.christy on Instagram, or subscribe to our channel to watch other videos. The links are also down below. And until next time, bye.